What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the Walk with Faith podcast. So if you guys are watching on the YouTube, you can tell the setup is a little bit different than it has been the past 2 weeks. And it's been different every single time, which is crazy right now. But anyways, the schedule was crazy, and so here we are in the car. But we're just going to kind of do like a little chit-chat episode, talking about like as a new Christian, where do I even start? I feel like on Facebook and like different social medias lately, I've seen like quite a few people like being a new Christian. They're like, I don't even know like where to start. And just like, I don't know, I feel like in this generation there's so many people that are like coming to Christ like right now, and like it's crazy. It's so cool though. But yeah, I'm so excited because I have Cassidy on today. So exciting. But yeah, so as I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, I'm gonna ask you 3 words that describe you before Christ, and then 3 words that describe you after.
Okay, I would say the 3 that describe me before are probably unfulfilled, sad, and anxious. And then after, I would say whole, fulfilled, and joyful.
Those are good. Unfulfilled, that's so real. Like, yeah. Dang. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So we're just gonna hop right into it. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of new Christians, one of the big things obviously is like reading your Bible. And a lot of new Christians are just like, there's so many chapters, there's so many things, like I don't even know where to begin. I don't know. I feel like whenever I first kind of came to Christ, I was in that position. I was like, I don't know what to read. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I started with like Romans because it was like a really kind of easy to understand chapter. Like, I don't know. Definitely the New Testament, in my opinion, would be like a good place to start because it's a lot easier. Old Testament can be really hard to understand, like the stories, and like it's kind of crazy. But really, looking back, I would say like starting in the Gospels, because I mean the Gospels, that's like Jesus's life and the whole story. I feel like that would be a good place to start.
For sure. I would say when you mentioned it, I was thinking like Romans or like Matthew, because those are both really good books. Like I love Romans, it's so good. I love Romans. But yeah, I definitely feel like the Gospels are like a good place to start to like understand. Yeah. And like I haven't, one of the Gospels that you don't hear like as much about, in my opinion, is Mark. Like I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I like have read a lot out of like Matthew, and I've read a lot out of John. Last semester we read Luke for a Bible study thing, but I don't know, I feel like I haven't really read a whole lot out of Mark. Like sometimes people like what's I gonna say, they do like, if you like have this certain passage in Matthew, like you'll find it in the other Gospels as well, like because like it's the same story, it's just by different people. Yeah. But like I don't know, I feel like I haven't read a whole lot of Mark. I don't think I have either. Like thinking back, like I don't think I've ever like opened it. Like I can't think of a verse that I'm like, that's for Mark. Like
like
I feel like there's definitely good stuff in there for sure, but like even Luke. Like I don't know, I feel like Matthew is like the most popular gospel. Yeah, and it's the first, so like when you open them, you're like
that one. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Matthew and John I've read. I mean, I haven't read like completely all the way through, I don't know. But like I've read it all through, but like sporadically, because like I don't know, you always refer back to the Gospels, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Like those are the core like books of the Bible.
Yeah. So like as a new Christian, if somebody doesn't know what the Gospels are, it's basically just the story of Jesus's life, and like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are all the 4 different accounts of it. So they're all like the same stories, but they're told a little bit differently, and some may be easier to understand than the others. But yeah, I feel like that's a really good place to start, but definitely like New Testament, because Old Testament is crazy.
I'm trying to read it right now, and
like, what book are you in?
Hold on. No,
it's okay, there's so many.
I'm in Numbers right now.
I
think I skipped Leviticus because I was just like,
it's just like, what? Like I don't even understand. A big thing that has helped me though, one of my like leaders at school, she was like, use the compare version on the Bible app. Like there's so many times I'm like, what does this even mean? Like what? And so I texted her one time and I was like, help, like what does this mean? And she was like, first go look at the compared version, and then she like explained it to me still. But like I was like, oh, like some other versions are like really like they explain it a lot better.
Yeah,
because I was say I got to the tabernacle, and I've heard it like preached once, but I was like, oh my gosh, what?
Right?
Or like when you get to the part where like he was 700 years old, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I have not read Numbers, but yeah, I remember last semester there was a Bible study I was in, and it was like crazy, like Old Testament stuff, and I was like, what are you even saying? And the Ignite leader now, there's like a new leader, and he'll like ask like really hard questions, and I'm like, I don't know how to answer, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But like it's so good though. Also, my eyes are like so allergy today, they're watering like crazy. That's so irrelevant, but
Anyways.
yeah, dang. Yeah. Yeah, so what are some things like whenever you first got started as a Christian that you like got involved in?
I mean, I grew up in the church, so that was always something. And then my church always, like, it's a tiny church, so they tried to start youth group, so I'd go to that whenever we did have it. And then, like, growing up in it, like, I went to Chrysalis, which is a good one. And then I stayed plugged in Young Life. And then now I go to New Beginnings.
I love it there. I love it at New Beginnings.
Fun. And it's just so nice to be, like, plugged in and constantly have that, like what's the word?
Just like people around you, like community.
Yeah, community.
Yeah.
Like having people like uplift you and help you like in your walk, because I grew up as a Christian, but that doesn't mean I know everything. Like I'm so clueless half the time. People come up and talk to me about it. I'm like,
I
what?
know. That's so real. Even me, so like crazy. I don't know. The other day I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Man, you have your life all figured out. Like you're so put together." I'm like, "No, like no." And they're like, "Oh yeah, like you have a Christian podcast. You know." I'm like, "No, I don't. I really don't." But like, I want to share what I do know. Mm-hmm. Wow, my eyes. Anyways, but yeah, like I want to share what I know, but like I feel like I don't know much at all. And like there's so many times I feel like I don't know. I'm just like I don't have the capacity to like teach sometimes.
Real. Like it's I don't know, cuz like it's the way like being like a table leader at Chris's last flight. They were like, if they come up with questions, like you're going to have to answer them. And I'm like,
no, don't ask me questions.
And
I don't know.
was like the same age as me, and I was like, guys,
yeah,
what?
That's another crazy thing. Like being the high school leader is like they could even like Lydia was my table leader, and like I was older than her, but like that doesn't mean like she knew way more than I did, obviously. But like that's just like intimidating, I guess.
Yeah, it's just intimidating to know that you're gonna have to like not know, but like know that there's an opportunity that someone's gonna come to you with a question like that. You're gonna have to be like,
yeah. Our youth leader, she talked about just like even if you don't know, like use that as an opportunity like to learn more. And like if somebody comes to you with a question about something and you're like, honestly I really don't know, but I would love to learn with you. I feel like it's something that's like been really good, because I don't know, there's been times like one of my friends even, she like wants to learn more about the Jewish religion, and I'm like, girl, I don't know nothing about it, but like I'd love to learn with you. Like I don't know, I mean it's a good opportunity, like, you know.
Yeah, I would say when I was at Young Life last year during campaigners, we did like a whole section where all we did was learn about different religions.
And that was really so cool. I loved that.
Awesome. It was like great to just learn about it and like see like from some standpoints how we're like super similar and just understand that.
Yeah. And like because like the Jewish religion, I think they believe in Jesus as a prophet.
Yeah, they don't believe that he's like the son of God, or that he like rose and died, because it literally says it in our Bible, like in like the Christian Bible. Like I was looking, because I remember like sitting because I went to another youth group this time last year. I went to Crossroads, and in my small group we were going over something in one of the Gospels and like talking about like the story of Jesus and stuff, and it brought up the fact that like Jewish people don't believe that Christ like died on the cross for our sins and everything. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, but like it's really good to like it's really good to like learn that stuff though, so whenever people do like whenever that like comes up, like the other day I was scrolling through Instagram, there's been so many things on my reels lately, and these people are like, yeah, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and like different things. I'm like, what? And then I don't know, but yeah, like my friend, like they were just like, yeah, like I don't believe, like he didn't walk on water, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. And then around Easter there was an Instagram reel, and this girl was like, the whole timeline just doesn't even make sense of Easter. They say 3 days and 3 nights, and then this day, I don't even know what it was, but it was all this stuff, and I was just like, it's literally laid out like right there for us to read. Like if you just read it and just like have somebody to help you read through it to understand it, like
the proof is there. Like, everything is there. Even, like, scientists now. Like, there's so many, like, even scientists that aren't Christian. I want to say that, too, because obviously there's, like, Christian scientists, if that makes sense. But, like, there's also scientists that, like, aren't Christian or religious, and they're like, yeah, like, this is the science. I don't know how to, like, say anything against it, because it's just, like, everyone's like, oh, well, science and religion don't line up. But, like, they do.
There's so many accounts where science backs up religion.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny. And I think it's just so cool when, like, I get to see that happen and stuff. Or, like, also, like, at New Beginnings right now, we're going over the book of Daniel. And we're talking about, like, all the, like, the timeline before, like, the Antichrist and all of that. And it's just insane seeing how, like, the timelines, like, match up. Because it was, like, so many days. Like, it was, like, 3 3s and a 4th or something like that. Like, it was speaking in, like, weird terms. But it was, like, there were, like, 3 3s or, like, 3 weeks or something. It was, like, 7 7. So it was, like, 7 weeks for 7 months or something like that. And, like, the timeline from, like, 7 weeks and 7 months from when they said it to, like, when it should have been was the day that Jesus came, like, riding in on, like, the donkey.
Yes, I remember there was a sermon at New Beginnings last year about that.
Yes. I was like, no, it was so good. I was like, what? Like, it's just so cool to see how, like, God, like, purposely had his people, like, lay out a blueprint for us.
Yeah.
So that we could, like, understand.
It's crazy. And, like, I don't know. I feel like this is also out there a lot lately. It's just, like, the idea of, like, when his return is going to be. And, like, it's low-key scary. It's like, what?
I know. Everyone, like, oh my gosh, the solar eclipse are like, and it's all gonna
yes,
end.
I
Like,
know.
stop.
Everybody was saying that. All of my Instagram reels was like, the world is ending. He's coming back right now. I'm like, he wouldn't, like, it's not predictable.
It's
like,
not,
that doesn't even add up.
It says it in the Bible that, like, we won't know, like, when it's supposed to happen and stuff. So, like, that was crazy. And also, like, from the book of Daniel, I think it says that, like, it's supposed to be, like, over a span of, like, 7 years or something. So, like,
It's crazy.
it would have been crazy. Like, and it hasn't been that bad. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like, there's always going to be, like, non-Christian people in the world, and it's always going to be, like, not holy, because this isn't our home, and, like, the devil definitely, like, is down here in people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't think, like, there's still so many Christians and, like, people becoming Christians right now that, like, I don't think that could be happening. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Then again, it's not predictable, so.
That's, like, why I was like, oh, because I had a list of topics, like, written down of just, like, from whenever I started the podcast, and I was like, oh, like, these are good ideas to talk about. And then this week I was trying to think of what to talk about, and I was like, you know, this is actually so relevant right now, because I feel like in today's age and just, like, our culture, I guess, there's a lot of people that are coming to Christ, and it's just, like, oh my gosh, like, it's crazy. It's so exciting, though. Like, oh, I love it. Like, even just, like, I don't know, there's so many, like, my whole Instagram reel is just, like, all these, like, it's just, like, Christian, like, groups and all this stuff, and people are like, oh, yeah, like, you say Gen Z is so bad, and then it's just, like, a big, like, group of people just, like, worshiping and stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. Like, at Ignite, we did this worship night, and, like, it started off just, like, a regular, like, worship night, and just, like, kind of, like, church music as, like, slower, chiller worship music, like, and then at the end we had, like, I Thank God. There was, like, 3 songs, and we were just mosh pit, and it was actually so fun, because I've never, like, I've been to, like, concerts and stuff, and, like, the fair, but, like, that's not Christian, it's just, like, country music or something, but, like, oh my gosh, it was so cool. I was like, what the heck? We're literally all just here screaming. I wonder if I can find it.
No, it's so good when you get to do that too, because then it's like glorifying God, and you can like feel His presence and like spirit, and then also you're just having the best time with like the most like fun people ever.
Yes.
It's so awesome. Like, that's how I feel when we like put on Christian music at like Young Life, and we're all just like dancing around. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah, like literally, like you said, like one of your words was fulfilled. Like, everybody, I feel like just so whole, and just like I'm just like joyful like all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's moments I'll be like scared or sad or anxious or whatever. Like, that's never gonna go away.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like, if you're a Christian, you're never gonna be anxious, you're never gonna be this, you're never gonna be that. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be hard times and you're gonna go through trials, but I mean, it's so worth it.
Very few.
Literally. Okay. Like,
that's so fun.
Oh my gosh.
I say, I've seen a lot of these where it's like Christian colleges, and they're all just like moshing at worship.
Oh, there was me. Oh, so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I loved that. That was so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyways, I definitely feel like getting like plugged into community is like a big part about not even just new Christians, like yes, new Christians specifically, but like even like us, like even like us staying plugged in like older Christians, I guess. But yeah, and I feel like you can find it wherever you are. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, there's community everywhere. You just have to look for it. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's nothing, like, there's nothing here. I'm like, you just kind of have to find it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it can be hard, but anywhere you go, like, the Lord has placed you there for a reason. And, like, He will find people for you, which is something, like, what the heck? That's so cool.
Because even if there isn't community, like, you can create some.
Yes.
Like, I was scared to death because I started going to SIGTIC at the beginning of this year.
Yes.
And so, like, I knew no one in my class going in, like, nobody.
How has that been?
And now they're, like, half of my class is, like, Christian. And
Really?
it's so great to just be able to talk to them. Actually, one of the girls that's in my class was at my table for Chrysalis. And it was so fun because we just got to be so much closer, and it was just awesome. Like, just like, and the girl I sit next to goes to Young Life on the north side because she goes to North.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we talk about God like all the time. She's so funny. She's like, we should hang out and have Bible study sometime. I'm like, no, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's like so crazy to just see how like God took like how scared I was to go into that. Which like I knew it was gonna be fine no matter what. But,
Yeah,
and
but
then
just,
He placed those people there too with me, and I'm like,
yeah,
what?
it's
like,
crazy.
It's so cool to see.
But yeah, like you're gonna find or create community wherever you are. And like going to Louisville, I was like, I literally know nobody. Like, there is a guy named Boston Steers. He goes to Central. He goes to Louisville. I knew him, but I didn't really talk to him that much. Maya Reniger, she's going to be on the podcast at some point. She's so sweet. She went to Harrison. But, like, I knew her, but, like, again, I also didn't know her. And then there was Taylor Randall from Mount Vernon. Like, there was 3 people from this area, and I didn't talk to any of them. So I really didn't even know any of them. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I literally know nobody. Like, I was so scared. But right away, like, I found a really good group of people. Like, our ministry is called Ignite, so I've said that. But, oh my gosh, like, they are just the greatest people ever. And, I mean, there's other ministries too. There's one called Delight, and it's like a girls' ministry. They have that at a lot of colleges. But, I don't know, I feel like Ignite has just been awesome. And we have Tuesday night worships. Thursday night, there's freshman dinner. And then me and 3 other girls started like a Bible study on Mondays. So like that's going with Ignite people at least 3 days a week.
Yeah, that's fun.
And like next year, I think I'm going to be a student leader. Like I interviewed and stuff for it. I don't find out until this summer, but I'm like really excited for that. Hopefully I do. But, like if not, there's still opportunities to like help with them as well. But like I would be like leading a group or something like that, fun. Which was like that's crazy. That'd be so fun. But yeah, I feel like just you can really find community wherever you are. And like for our age or like high school age, there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot out there. Like there's high school youth groups. There's like Young Life. You can go to events like Chrysalis. Like I feel like for high school age new Christians, like there's so many opportunities for you. And
a lot of schools have like FCAs too, which is awesome.
Yes.
And it's so fun because most of them are student-led, so you just get to go in, well, like, obviously, because teachers can't, like, preach and stuff, which sucks, but also, like, it's so cool to just get to hear your classmates, like, preach and stuff. Like, ours is on Thursdays before school, and it's awesome, like, just getting to hear different people talk.
Yeah, that's how ours is. It's I think it's Tuesday and hang on. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it rotates every week, so, like, it's Tuesday, it's Thursday, Tuesday, I think it's like that, but yeah, that was so fun last year being in FCA and just like hearing all the people and like a lot of people too like that's for athletes. Like no, it's for anybody.
Yeah, we
it's
literally
for anybody.
Like, one of the teachers that like sponsors it literally like put on the sign. She's like fellowship Christian anyone, and like that's what she like promotes it as.
That's
like,
smart.
We have like a bulletin board and it literally says that, and it's so funny, but it's so cute.
I love that. Yeah, that's good because like it's not just athletes, but like. At college, so FCA, I went to FCA my fall semester because I was an athlete, and then now I'm like, oh, I can't go because like it's only athletes, which like I could totally go, like they would totally be welcoming, but at the same time in college it's a lot more like you're going to the football stadium and like that's where it's at.
Gotcha.
So it's like I'm like I don't want to show up and like you're not on the rowing team anymore. Like I don't know. But also like it's also kind of like scary sometimes because there's so many people that like will like pose as Christians.
Yeah.
And they're not at all. Like, not to out any of the girls on the rowing team, but there's a couple of them that go to FCA and they party and drink and all this stuff, and I'm like I honestly hate people like that. Like, no, like I don't hate, that's a strong word, but like I dislike people like that because they're like misrepresenting Jesus like bad. And it's so sad because then new Christians are going to be like, oh yeah, I can go party and drink. They're Christian and they do that.
And it's like, yeah, because that's how it is in high school too. Like, I know a lot of people who will immediately, I'll be like, come to Young Life with me on Monday nights, and they'll shut it down. They're like, nope, because people go there that do that. And they're like, it happens all the time and it sucks, but also I'm just happy they're there.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy they're there to hear it. Like, whether it goes one in year and out the other, like, eventually they're going to get sucked into some function, or they're going to, like, hang out with people enough to where they're going to figure out that, like, that's not what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And, like, I hate that it takes them, like, misrepresenting Christ to other people. But, like, also, like, I feel like it's worth it that they're still there and still getting the news.
Yes, I'm glad that they... Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, I'm glad that they still go. Like, I don't like that they go party and drink on the weekends, but, like, I'm glad that they're at least hearing the message.
Yeah.
And even if they're not taking it to heart now, maybe, like you said, maybe later down the road they'll take it to heart. Yeah. Because, like, that's just, like, crazy. And I don't know, I feel like so many people grow up in the church and they're not, like they're not practicing. I don't know what other word to say. I always say there's so many Christians that aren't practicing. Because, like...
Yeah, they, like...
Does it make sense?
Choose not to, like, have a relationship with him. Like, they know... Like, they know of him, but they don't know him. Like...
Yeah. Okay, sorry, guys. There was a little interruption there. But back to what you were talking about. But, yeah, like, I'm just glad that people still go to things like that because there is going to be a time that they're going to realize. And, like we were saying, people growing up in the church, like, I grew up in a Catholic church. And so I, did my first communion, did all the things as a Catholic. And then once my sister passed away, like, we just didn't go to church. And then I went a couple times, like, with my Nana, but, like, I don't know. The Catholic Church is very different. Yeah. And, I mean, there's things I don't agree with. I've talked about this last episode, too, but, like, I'm not gonna trash the Catholic Church because, like I said, one of my friends is Catholic, and she, like, actually does have a relationship with the Lord. So, like, I don't know. Just the way I was raised, I feel like I didn't really have a relationship with the Lord. I didn't really know. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to church on Sunday. That's what you do.
I feel like it just sets up, like, because my church runs semi like a Catholic church, but not all the way. But we, like, take Catholic, like, teaching sometimes. But also I've, like, been to Catholic churches with my friends who are, and I feel like they just set up for, like, the religion aspect of it. Yes. And they just, like, very much so preach, like, you're like, okay, like, when they say this, I get down on my knees and I pray, which is, like, prayer is a good thing, but when you do it over and over again from when you're little, it's just, like, something you do instead of something that you, like, it's just something you should do, not something that you would, like, want to do, you know what I mean?
That's so true, yeah. But, like, there's still even, like, obviously there's some, obviously, really good things that's coming from the church. But, like, I don't know. And then I feel like I got to this one point whenever I, like, first, like, really, like, at Crystal's had my coming to Christ moment. I was like, oh, the Catholics do this. I'm not doing that. Like you said, like, getting down on your knees and praying. Like, in the Catholic Church, like, you bring the little step down and, like, you sit there and you kneel and you pray. And so whenever I first, like, actually came to Christ, I was like, oh, I'm not praying that way. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. But now, like, there will be times I literally am just, like, on my knees praying. And, like, I don't know. It's just kind of cool to see, like, the fruit from even some of those Catholic practices now. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, there's good and bad in every church. And that's just how it's going to be. But, I don't know. It's just, like, crazy.
I also think it's cool that, like, prayer can be, like, shown in, like, so many different ways. Like, it doesn't have to look like one thing, and I think that's so cool. Like, prayer can literally be, like, taking a walk on a trail by yourself. Because, like, the camp I go to over the summer, they're like, alright, we have, like, an hour of free time, whatever, and we have, like, 2 recs. And first rec is always the one where you're kind of, like, whatever, on your own, and then second rec is kind of just, like, pool time, arts and crafts time. Like, we play a lot of games. Like, first strike, you kind of either just have to wonder or hang out with your friends or do something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times they push it because we have, like, a maze, and they call it, like, the prayer maze, where you walk through that and pray. Or they just, like, we have some cute trails out here if you guys want to go on a prayer walk.
Yes.
And I think it's so cool just to be able to, like, take that time. And also, I love nature.
Yes,
So I think it's so cool just
so
to
pretty.
walk around and, like, hear the birds and everything. Especially
It's like, look what he created.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's so cool. I love that. Prayer can be so many different ways.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, like, you could be down on your knees praying. I could be sitting here, hey God, like, if Cassidy wasn't here, I was just driving, I'd be like, oh, hey God, like, this will happen today, blah, 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 like, that's praying. Like you said, going on a walk, like, there's so many different ways that you can pray, and, like, it's never wrong, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people, as new Christians, get scared, and they're like, oh, I'm not praying the right way, or oh this and oh that, because, like, I don't know, used to, like, me, like, praying in front of people, I was like, oh, like, I'm not gonna pray good, I'm not gonna pray because I don't do it good. But, like, no matter what you do, like, you're glorifying God in that prayer. So, like, no matter how you do it, it's right. It's never wrong.
Yeah.
Which is, like, crazy. There's so many things I'm just like, oh, like, I just get joy, like, talking about it, because I'm like, it's so cool. Like, God works in so many ways. Like, he's always listening. Like, he's listening right now. Like, what?
My favorite thing is, like, when I think of it like a conversation. Because then he's obviously listening, and at some point you're going to get an answer.
Yes.
So I just think of it like the little conversation. Because so many people, like, at church is this running thing where, like, every day we come in, and it's always, like, at 8 o'clock, right? So that's when most iPhones get the little screen time for the week.
Oh.
And so we've had to sit there, and they're like, all right, show us your screen time. And then whoever has the highest screen time for the week has to pray. That's the punishment. And so I had the highest screen time one week, and she was like, all right, you have to open and close in prayer because you're not afraid to do it. And I was like, okay, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't know. I think it's cool to just think of it like a conversation because it's awesome. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like just getting comfortable praying out loud is huge, though, because, like, at first it can be intimidating and scary. You're like, oh, people are going to judge me. But, like, if they're judging you, like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Like, you can't say anything wrong.
Oh, good. I know. There's just, like, it's crazy. Just, like, what people, like, think about Christianity, too. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. Like, why? Like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate thinking about that because it's like, I hate that he got misrepresented to you. Like, that's not true.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Just helping people understand what the truth is, too. Like, I don't know. That can just be very helpful because, like I said, like, me growing up in the Catholic Church and, like, some of the things I was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm good. I'm going to heaven if I'm going to church every Sunday. Yeah. Like, no, that's so not true. So just, like, kind of having to relearn everything was kind of, like, it threw me for a loop, I feel like. But, like, now I'm like, okay, like, I feel good. And, like, I know where I'm going. Like, I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And just, like, I don't know, leading other people to the Lord, too, because, like, even, like, my mom, like, I'm just, like, there's so many things. I'm just, like, oh. Really? Why are you doing that? Why are we saying that? Like that, like the other day she said GD and I was like, we do not say that in this household. You already know that. We don't say that. Like, it's just crazy. But yeah, definitely like staying plugged in helps a lot and finding just like good like role models, because if you're looking towards people that are going out and partying and stuff like that, like, you're not headed the right way because you have not a good role model. But if you have somebody that can help you. And another big thing that we've talked about a lot, like, this past semester is discipleship.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that needs to get talked about more because it needs to be happening more. And just, like, having somebody to disciple you and teach you and help you understand. And then you discipling someone else as well. I feel like, I don't know, we talked about this as well, but I feel like I'm always there to like talk to people if they need help, but I feel like I'm not specifically discipling somebody.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally told to go out and make disciples of the world. Like, I want to find the verse because it's in the Gospels.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Let me tell you guys, it's in the Gospels.
No, that's why I love, like, being in community, too, so much. Because then it's, like, also, like, the mentors that you get from that. Because, like,
Yes.
Lane Tinkler and Rachel Geiser, oh my gosh, they're awesome. And then, like, this past flight, my table leader was Megan Danks. Like, they're all such amazing people, and it's so great because they don't even try. Like, you just sit down with them, have a conversation. Like, it doesn't even have to be, like, specifically for the Lord, and the Lord's going to come up.
Yeah.
Because they're just those type of people, and it's just so awesome because no matter what they say, like, no matter where we're at or what they say, I know I'm going to learn about God from them, and it's just great to, like, know that I have those people in my life that I just get to, like, be poured into constantly from them.
Yeah, and just, like, keeping yourself around those people, like, helps a lot. And just, like, even, like, your friend group. Like, when after I went through Chrysalis, I had to be, like, okay, like, I had 2 really good friends that were girls, and I was just, like, okay, like, I'm gonna distance myself. Like, we're still gonna be friends. I still love you, and we're still gonna, like, hang out. But, like, I need to distance myself from you guys and hang out with my friend group that I have now. And, like, my friend group I have now, I'm, like, I don't know what I would have done without them. Because, like, after coming back from Chrysalis, like, I started hanging out with them. And if I didn't start hanging out with them, I'm like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't have had anybody, like, pushing me to be a better person.
Yeah, and, like, keep you on track and keep you, like, accountable and stuff.
Yeah, especially, like, I don't know, just Luke Scheller has really been, like, the biggest, just, like, the biggest, like, motivation and just, like, I don't know, and he's always there for me. And Ever Warren, oh my gosh, I love him so much. Like, he literally, like, even last night, this is so silly, but we were literally just, like, playing iMessage games at, like, 1 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. He's just, like, he's always there for you. He's always just, like, oh, he's so sweet. And, like, him and Ava were the first ones on the podcast, and they were the first ones that did, like, a couple session for me. And, like, I don't know, it's just, like, so cool. And, like, I did Ava's cap and gown pictures the other day. Yeah. So, like, seeing, like, how far, like, I don't know, like, they're always there for me. Like, if I want to, like, do something, like, they're always there. And, like, you just need people like that in your life that are always there for you, which is, like, but the verse about making wait, that is not the whole verse. Oh man, now I lost it. Oh wait, it's the Great Commission. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, listen, this is the important part. All authority in heaven and on earth has given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in my name, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of age. That's Matthew 28:18 through 20 is, like, the Great Commission section. But, like, I feel like I haven't really, like, learned a whole lot about that before going to college, the Great Commission. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I heard it, but I didn't really, like, get preached it.
Really? I don't know. I feel like there was, like, a month of my life where that's all it was. Like,
really?
I feel like that was all that was preached. And, like, also there was a month where, like, the only song I would listen to was the Great Commission.
Oh, yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, it's so good. And, like, that'd be my song before I went into work, because the job I worked at was not good, and I just did not enjoy it there.
Gotta hype yourself up.
Because the people, they were, like, not Christ-like, and they just, they would, like, be in the back, like, vaping, and I'm like,
I hate that.
and I was just like, alright, I'm just here to work. But, like,
yeah.
I just, like, reminded myself of that song, because I knew no matter what they did, like, I still had to be a good Christian person and, like, be Christ-like to them. Yeah. Because, like, my goal was, like, first, like, I guess 3 months in, I decided, like, working there, that, like, if nothing else, I wanted to at least be, like, a good person and someone they could see, like, Christ through. Because, like, sure, we're all there to work, but, like, we can either make it, like, a good workplace, and then we can make it, like, someplace that, like, we're gonna be able to, like, have a good relationship, or we can make it, like, the most awful night we've ever had in our entire lives. And so I just think, like, I always try to do that, like, going in, I would listen to that song, like, 5 minutes before I'd go, and I'd just sit in the parking lot, I wouldn't do anything, I'd do that, and then I'd pray, and then I'd go in, and, like, hope everything went good, and just, like, reminding myself that, like, that's the mission always, like, it's just good to remember.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like, I mean, you were like, yeah, like, I prayed before I went. I feel like that is something that has helped me a lot, too, is, like, there's so many times where I get, like, anxious or nervous, like, going somewhere, or just, like, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do this, like, this is gonna be a bad whatever, but, like, I don't know, I feel like
prayer just like makes me feel so good. It's just like a warm hug.
Really?
Like, I don't know, there'll be times I'm like really anxious to do something and I'm just like, okay, like, Lord, like whatever happens, like it's your plan and like it's all gonna work out and everything. And then it ends up like everything is fine. Like, I was nervous and scared for no reason. Like, I don't know, it always works out in his plan, which is like, what the heck. But another thing too with prayer is like, I think I might have said this on the last episode, I really don't know, but I feel like a lot of times people, whenever they pray and they don't get like what they ask for, like right away.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yep, God's not real, or blah 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 blah, and I'm like, what? And like, I don't know, just like a big thing is like, if you are asking God for patience and you want to be patient in something, he's not going to just, here you go, you're patient.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to give you an opportunity to be patient. I think it's like, I don't know, that kind of, not theme, but that kind of like statement, I guess. I feel like it was like from some movie. And he like was talking about that, and I was like, bro, that's so good though, because that's so real. Like, he's not gonna, yep, oh yeah, you're fixed, oh you're like, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not how it is.
Because I feel like that's how it's introduced to new Christians though. Because like when you hear about Jesus, you're like, he died on the cross for your sins and you're forgiven, and so you're like, oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then you go and live life, and then like you're trying to pray and stuff, so like, and you're also used to like human interactions where it's like,
yeah,
obviously like you've grown up with parents and like you have them be like, oh nope, you have to wait for this, like, and
Yeah.
that sucks, but also like you also know it's in your best interest. And I think it's just hard for people sometimes to wrap their head around like, oh, like he's not gonna answer right away. And like one of my other favorite things is like with prayers, when people say that about prayer, it's like God answers in 3 ways. He's like, not now, wait, or yes. And those are the 3 answers, and I just think it's so good to like just remind myself of that too.
That's good. Oh my gosh.
Because if he's making you wait, there's always obviously something better for you, or something that's going to lead you closer to him and in his plan, which I think is so awesome, especially if you're allowing him to like work in your life and praying for that.
Yeah, I feel like I have to constantly remind myself of like things like that, because like even like, I don't know, last year, once like me and Cooper broke up and everything, I like completely did not talk to like that whole friend group. I was like, I don't want to hang out with them, like I'm scared. I was just like, so, because like, I don't know, that was the first like guy or like boyfriend that I had that was like Christian. Like, that was like, because it was like right after Chrysalis and everything, and I was like, oh, like he's such a godly man, like leading me to the Lord and all this stuff, and then like it just like was gone, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I'm like, now, like, I don't know, I feel like I've been able to grow a lot, and I feel like if we were still together while I was at Louisville, like that would just not, like, I don't know, that would have been really hard. Like having somebody, like, I don't know, I feel like I would like hold somebody back. So like, I don't know, I feel like I learned a lot about myself this year, and I'm glad that I was just kind of like by myself. And like now, like him and Andy being back together, like that's so, like, seeing the fruit of that, like them before Christ and then like now after Christ, just like seeing like God's like, okay, like now's not the time, but if you guys wait, like it's gonna work out. And like seeing that now, I'm like, I'm so happy for them. Like just like seeing how that relationship has changed between them is crazy. Like, what?
Yeah, and like the growth, it's so cool.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, like obviously like whenever I was dating him, like I learned a lot about him and Andy's relationship, like before they met the Lord. And just like hearing about that versus now, like how they're glorifying God, I'm just like that just makes me so happy. Just like seeing the fruit of their patience and their waiting in between is really, it's really cool to see. Just like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like whenever I first heard that they were dating, I was like, oh really? Like I was so mad. I was like, oh really? But like now I'm like, oh wait, like actually that's so good for them. Like I'm so glad that they're together. And like now, like obviously like, I talk to all those like USI people and everything, because like they're all so sweet. Like there was no reason to be like like that was so un-Christ-like of me to just like be like, yep, I'm not your friend, not your friends anymore. Like what? That's so terrible. Like another thing too is like we're gonna make mistakes, and there's gonna be things that we're not gonna be proud of. Like
something just like that. Like, obviously, I like, was following the Lord then, but I still, like, there's still sometimes I struggle and do things I shouldn't do. Like, I don't know. People just expect you to be perfect. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, you don't have to, I hear this a lot, but, like, you don't have to clean up to come to Christ. You come to Christ, and then he'll clean you up.
Yeah. Sure.
And, like, it's always going to be a work in progress. Nobody's ever going to be perfect until he comes. And another thing too is, like, whenever people tell the story, this is another thing, my Ignite, whatever, my leader, like, she told me, is, like, they're like, okay, like, what's the story of the gospel? And everybody's just like, oh yeah, like, Christ, or like, Jesus came and he died on the cross for us and forgave our sins in the end. And it's like, everybody, that's just what everybody says. But she was like, you can't forget the beginning. Like, in the beginning, everybody was perfect. It was Adam and Eve. Like, everybody was perfect. Like, and then sin came into the world, and then that's whenever the world was destroyed. Yeah. And that's why there's evil and sin happening now. And then we're not going to be perfect again until Christ comes back. So, realizing that the world was, in the beginning, it wasn't sin and all this evil things.
Yeah, that's not what he intended it for it to be.
Yes, like, we came, like, it was a perfect world, perfect harmony, everything perfect, no sin. And then sin came into the world. So remembering that, like, because everybody's like, oh yeah, bad things are just gonna happen, that's how it is. Like, yes, but that's not how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, though, like, we were perfect and now we're not, and so that's where we're trying to get back. But again, that's never gonna happen while we're on this earth.
And it was still awesome that, like, he saw it go bad, and he still loved us enough to, like, send his son down to us. And another big thing is, like, the disciples. Like, if you look at any single one of their timelines, like, they were not perfect people.
No.
Like, they all struggled. Or, like, anyone Jesus ever chose to help minister to other people and, like, help with the Great Commission after he, like, left, like, the people he chose were far from perfect, and he still used them so well. And I think that's one of the great things, like, just reminding myself that, like, Jesus, like, chose these people, and not only did he, like, love them so well, like, he washed their feet. Like, that's one of the other big things. Like, when, I think it was Peter, like, he was like, no, you can't wash my feet, let me wash your feet. He was like, no, like, I have to clean you. Like, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to, like, heal everyone. I think that's really cool.
So sweet. Like, we're doing all these bad things, and he still loves us.
Yeah.
Like, even just, like, me, like, looking back in my past, like, all the things that I've done, I'm like, he still loves me. Like, I don't know, it's just crazy. I'm like, what? Like, no way he should be loving me after that. But, like, he still does, and he's always there for you in everything. And, like, oh, God, that's just, like, what? Like, I can't even, like, there's just so many times I'm just, like, I can't even wrap my head around it, because it doesn't even make sense. I'm like, what? Why is he so good? Like, I didn't do nothing to deserve that. Like, we do not deserve him at all. It's just, like, crazy. I'm like, what the heck? Gosh.
This just reminds me of the song, like, Indescribable, where it's like, indescribable, uncontainable. Like, that song.
I think I've heard it.
Really?
I'll have to listen to it after
so
this.
Good. But it, like, talks about, like, how, like, his love is, like, so good and so much more than we can ever understand. Like, it's like being, like, living in Christ and having a relationship with Christ is, like, so undescribable. Like, you can't even, like, you can try to describe it, but, like, you really can't. Like, just because, like, God's love for us is, like, so big and so good that, like, I can't even wrap my head around it half the time either. Like,
yeah. Like, it doesn't make sense. And if it makes sense, then it's probably not from God. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things, because, like, it's like, I don't know, like, why do you follow him? How did you come to Christ? How, like, I can't explain it. I can't. And that's how I know it's real. That even, like, that sounds so, like, no, you shouldn't think it's real because you don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. But, like, that's why I know, I feel like.
Yeah, because if you can understand it, then that means it has to be from human understanding.
Yeah.
But, like, God's understanding, he's, like, the creator of the whole earth.
That's just,
I couldn't even begin to tell you, like, how he, like, formed the earth and everything. Like, the Bible tells us a little bit, but, like the specific things, like, there are 24 hours in a day, like, from our standpoint. But also from his standpoint, it could be so much more. And, like, all the things he's done, like, absolutely blow my mind. Like, even just reading the Bible, and there's so much more in the Bible that couldn't, like, not in the Bible, that isn't from human account, which means we probably can't even understand it and fathom what else he's done for us, which I think is so cool.
Whenever I was younger, one of the big things I was like, well, this just doesn't make sense, is because, well, like, the beginning of Genesis, it's just like, in the beginning there was man, like, you know, in the beginning he created this, but my whole thing that I could never wrap my head around was, where did he come from? Like, I don't know, I just was always like, yeah, there was the earth and he created this and this and this, but how was the earth created? How was he created? Like, that's one thing that I've always just been like, what? And I still don't, I mean, I have never taken the time to, like, research it or, like, ask anybody about it, because I just know kind of thought of it. But I remember there was one morning I was getting ready for, like, church. I was probably, like, 6, I don't know. I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer to that, because I don't know. Like,
I would say I was described it by, like, a sheet of paper. Like, God's just always been there, right? Which doesn't explain where he's came from, but it, like, comes from. But it describes, like, kind of, like, our timeline. So, like, the sheet of paper is from the very beginning when Earth was created and the very end to where it'll all be over, right? And then God's just around it. God is everything but that. And there's a little tiny sliver, and you can put 2 fingers on the piece of paper, and that's our lifetime. And then God is just around everything, which I think is cool. Like, I don't think I really fully even understand it now, but, like, the idea of it is definitely there. But it was explained to me in middle school, too. So when they explained it to me at FCA in middle school, I was like,
what are you saying?
I was like, what? Like, I asked my pastor, like, I don't know, like, me or, like, one of my younger siblings asked our pastor. We were like, so how old's God? He was like,
so how old's God?
$1 million. Like, they're like, I don't know, probably the same age as, like, Santa Claus. And we're like, oh, yes.
Oh, that's so real, because, like, as a kid, like, Santa Claus, he's just always been there.
Yeah, like, that's the thing.
That's crazy. That's funny. Yeah, like, he isn't. He is no age. He is, like, what? Yeah. That's just, like, hard to wrap my head around sometimes.
But also, if you, like, think about it, like, the universe, not even, like, the universe and everything, but, like, space. How did it come to be?
Yeah,
what
like,
about the rocks?
What?
Even if there was nothing, like...
Like, what? That doesn't even, like... I just can't even fathom. But, like, also, like, those things aren't gonna, like, steer me away. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, I'm not a Christian. Because, like, no. Like, you can't, like, there's so, like we said earlier, like, the facts are there. The proof is there. And everything is there that we need to know.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to wrap our head around the rest of that. Like, if there's something we don't know, yeah, we don't need to know it. Like, if we needed to know, he would let us know. And it would have been in the Bible, it would be somewhere. But, like, we don't need to know.
It's like math class. Like, I don't know why I'm doing it or what I'm doing, but I can figure it out. Like, I can do what I'm told to do. But, like, other than that, like, I don't know. Like, it honestly is, though. But I like this a lot more than math. But.
That's so good. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, there's so many things. That's so funny. This is not, what I'm saying is not about related to the topic. But there's so many things that I, like, learned in high school and elementary school. I'm like, why did I learn that? Because I am not using that in the real world. Yeah. I'm not using that now. I'm not using that in college. Like, that doesn't even...
Like, the unit circle? No.
Yeah, like, what
is that? My teacher described it to me and, like, explained it and shows us a video. And I'm still like, yeah, right. Like, I have no clue.
Like, what? Like, yeah, maybe some engineer construction person needs to know that. Or, like, SOHCAHTOA. Like, I don't need to know that. Like, yeah, I bet some construction people do. Or, like, engineers. But I don't need to know that.
Yeah. Like, I'm not about to walk outside and be like, that's a right triangle. Let me just figure that out real quick. Like,
yeah, like, what?
Yeah.
And, like, why do I need to learn, like, oh, that's a simile, that's a metaphor, that's a... Like, why do I need to know the names? Like, as long as I understand it, why does it matter?
Literally with that, like that with English class. Because I think I'm more, like, math person than I am English person.
Same.
So when they're like, this is a compound complex sentence. What?
Like, why?
I don't understand. Like, it's been explained to me so many times, and I still, like, I can't grasp it because I'm like, it's a sentence. Like, it doesn't mean to be a simple or, like, a compound. Like, I just don't know.
Like, it doesn't need a name. It's a sentence.
I'm so mad.
Like,
I have a capital letter and a period and maybe a comma. Like, honestly.
Especially now in today's age, like, even, like, writing essays and stuff, like, I have Grammarly. I don't even know how to, like, do any of that. And, like, a lot of times I feel like I'm a mom sometimes, but I use my, like, talk to text, like, the little microphone. I use it all the time. I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So, and it, like, it's so funny, though, because sometimes, like, it obviously does it right. So there's like commas and there's this and there's that. And I don't text like that, obviously.
Yeah.
So whenever I text versus you can tell whenever it's like
Voice
the talk to text
yes.
because there's like commas and stuff. And I'm like, I will low-key want to delete the commas before I send it out. Because like,
real.
what? And like even just like not that long ago, I used to have like caps off, like it wouldn't automatically capitalize.
Really? I have it on because it bothers me. Like my phone like did this weird thing like halfway through me having it where like when I would type I in a sentence it would automatically decapitalize it, and it made me so mad because it bothered me so much.
Yeah,
like I have to have capitalization on. That's the one
thing.
I
have it on now, but whenever I was like in middle school and like beginning high school, I never had it on. Ooh. And now looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. That's just what a lot of people did, so I just did it.
She's like, yes, this is the way.
It's like, yes, no capitalization. Like, what?
No, that bothers me a little bit. That's like the one thing. Like, I don't care how my sentences look, but like, when you need capitalization in there, it just looks so wrong to me.
Yeah.
Especially because like people have like capitalization in the middle of their names too. Like a lot of my friends do. Or like their last names do. So like having it all like not caps, it bothered me.
Yeah, even like now I'm like whenever like people like put like this much text and put no periods throughout, just one like this long sentence, I'm like, okay, sometimes I don't put periods, but like whenever you got a real long paragraph, sometimes I need you to break that up for me because I don't understand.
Real.
Like what? There's a cop sitting like right here in front of us.
He's yapping to his friends. He's just gonna say and everything.
Yeah, he's scaring me, but it's fine.
It's okay.
He's
scaring me less than the guy who like walked past 3 times.
Yes, being in the car, this has been a crazy experience to say the least. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, like what the heck. But yeah, just to kind of come back to our topic here and just wrap it up. Yeah, just as a new Christian, in my opinion, just some tips to start reading in the Bible. Start reading in the Gospels or anywhere in the New Testament. I personally really like Romans, but, you know, I feel like the Gospels would be a really good place to start, especially Matthew. Like, Matthew's kind of easy to understand, so I would definitely say that would be a good place to start in the Bible. Is there any other, like, spots that you think in the Bible would be?
I don't know. I feel like those are the main ones, honestly.
I feel like Matthew, the Gospels, and Romans.
I'd say because one of my favorite verses is in Matthew, because like when I went through confirmation, because that's one of the things that my church does, when I went through confirmation we had to do like a memory verse, so mine was through Matthew, and it's so good. Like I love the book. Yeah,
definitely a good place to start. Mm-hmm. And then just getting plugged in and finding community. If you're not surrounding yourself with Christians and people that believe, then you're not going to really have as much guidance. Just like, I don't know, if you used to be like a partier, then getting away from people who party, or like underage drinking, getting away from people that do that, and just like having really good role models and being plugged in. If you're in college, I'm sure there's many college-aged ministries, and like you said, high school, there's like, what all do you go to? Like Young Life, youth group, FCA,
and like church,
Chrysalis church. Yep. And then if you're like older outside of college, obviously everybody needs to be going to church. That's the first place that you can start. And then like in the Evansville area, they do Tres Dias. I'm sure they do that some other places. And I'm sure that there's like more adult Bible studies as well. I don't really know about them a lot because obviously I'm not that age. So like I feel like I don't know as much about getting plugged in as an adult, but I'm sure there's still like adult groups that
and I feel like if you plug yourself into a church, a lot of churches have
groups
that spread off from, because like my church has like a women's Bible study, a men's Bible study. They do like all these different things. Mm-hmm. And like growing up it was just like, oh yeah, whatever, but now that like I'm older, I'm like, wait, that's so cool that like our tiny little church, who maybe has like 90 people on a good day, like has so many different groups still like influence community. I think it's awesome to see.
Mm-hmm. And I think almost all churches have some sort of groups. And if they don't, like if your church doesn't have some sort of groups, then maybe try going to a different church that has groups. Yeah. Or just going to those church groups. If you really like the church that you go to, continue going there on Sundays or Wednesdays or whenever you go to church, but then get plugged into a different church's groups. Yeah, I mean, just finding really good role models, I feel like, is super important. And I've talked about this before, but like also like the things that you watch, the things that you're listening to, the things like that are also really important. I feel like my mood is just so much better whenever I'm listening to worship music.
That's what I told my friends like a couple weeks ago, because she loves SZA, and I'm like,
I had to stop.
I was like, the lyrics are so bad though, and she's like, I know they're bad, but like, and I was like, I can't. I was like, me personally, like, I don't know how it affects you, but I was like, me personally, like, if I don't start my day off with like worship music or like listen to it throughout the day, my mood is just so bad, and I just feel like so down, and I'm just like bleh. But when I listen to like worship music and stuff, it just makes me feel so much better, and I feel like so much happier, which is like insane to see how much it like shifts. Yeah. And even like, it doesn't even have to be specifically like worship music. Like there's like I've made a playlist of like Christian country music, and like, I don't know, I'm a summertime country girl. Like, I'm from Posey County, so we're country out there. But like, I have a playlist. I'm sorry, I'm trying to look for a couple songs. Even like Forrest Frank, like, he's a good Christian artist, but his songs are like good. Yeah, they're good. Yeah. They're new. It's literally called Yeehaw and Jesus. It's like, so fun. If you guys have Apple Music and want me to sing you the playlist, I got you. But like, there's so many like, Brandon Lake Country Psalm, so good. There's Luke Bauer, his music is really good. He's a country. But yeah, like, there's so many options in any genre. Like, there's Christian music within any genre. It doesn't have to be just like gospel worship music. Is another thing too. So like, if you're like, if you're like somebody that really likes rap music, I don't, but if you really like rap music, there's Christian rap music. If you really like country, there's Christian country. If you really like pop, there's Christian pop. Like, you can kind of find it. Yeah, I was gonna say, Kanye came out with the Jesus album, and it's so good. I love listening to God Is. Like, that's one thing, I'll listen to that on like the way to school, and then like I'll follow it up with a bunch of Forrest Frank songs. There's such like hype. Because if like I don't start off with like hype music in the morning, like those just like make me so happy too, because I'm sitting there and I won't even like be in the mood to sing, and I'll be like, at like a stoplight or something, and I think it's so funny. With Kanye, with that album, I have to be like, okay, this album, it's glorifying, it's good music, because Kanye now, like, he's a little crazy. But there's always, like, there's good music everywhere, and you can find good things to listen to. But yeah, really just get yourself plugged in as a new Christian, or even as somebody who's been a Christian for a while. Definitely get yourself plugged in. I mean, like, listening to podcasts, things like this is something that can also really help. And it really helped me in high school. I listened to a lot of Whoa, That's Good podcast. Oh my gosh. All the time. That. It's so good. All the time. But yeah, I feel like that's really all we have. So thanks for being on the podcast today. Of course. Little crazy setup, but we still made it work. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. The next episode after this, I believe, is also going to be a Friday episode. But yeah, just don't forget to stay plugged in with different community people, and as a new Christian, start reading in the Gospels or the New Testament, somewhere that's easy to get into. And yeah, that's really about it. So I will see you guys in about 2 weeks. Bye. Bye.